went to Yogurtland. If you're not aware of the process there, you fill up your cup with frozen yogurt and toppings, and then you also put it on the scale. The cashier will tell you how much it costs. I was shocked when the cashier turned the screen around and it was asking me for a tip. What was I tipping for? Even if you've never been to Yogurtland, I'm sure all of you have been customers at some point and have been asked this prompt before. For the past few weeks, I've been doing extensive research on the true value of tipping and how it's changed over the years. Today, I'll be arguing why tipping is too normalized in today's world. First, I'll be discussing why tipping is such a prevalent issue. Then, I will talk about what caused it to be out of control. And lastly, I will present you with some solutions. Tipping has historically been an act of gratuity, but has developed into a problem because its meaning has changed, customers feel guilt-tripped, and this behavior continues to be enabled. If we dissect the history of tipping, we can already see issues with the practice. According to Mays in 2023, tipping actually came from London and didn't appear here in the US until after the Civil War. It quickly became a strategy for businesses to pay their employees less and then have customers make up the rest in tips. This is a problem because since then it's become a social norm and a way to thank workers for a job well done. In recent years, businesses have been taking advantage of this practice by guilt-tripping their customers, leaving them in overwhelming situations. This creates, everyone's used to tipping waiters, but over the past few years, it's filtered into the stores. This is a problem because no one's used to having to tip cashiers when shopping. On top of that, when the cashier turns the screen around, we're left in awkward positions, having to make a decision in a matter of seconds. 1, we have the cashier staring us down, and 2, we have customers in line behind us judging our next move. This added stress can cause customers to pick a random tip percentage, which is often high, in order to avoid feelings of embarrassment. According to Lorsch, in 2023, expert Mike Lidd, professor of consumer behavior and marketing, said, "They use these options as an indication of what the normative range is and often feel compelled to tip within that range. So the more you ask, the more you get." Tips should only be reserved for those that do their job well, as in many cases it's seen as a reward. There's times when it's appropriate and when it isn't. For instance, when we go get our nails done, we oftentimes tip the nail lady. This service is incomparable to the Yogurtland worker slapping a prompt in my face asking for a tip when I did all the work. In today's society, we are expected to tip even when they don't even do their job or do it with a good attitude. This is a problem because we are rewarding such behavior and enabling poor service. So now that I talked about how tipping is a problem in today's society, I'm going to be discussing what caused it to shift from an act of gratuity to an overwhelming issue. So in recent years, multiple aspects have contributed to inflation of tipping, including the hard times of the pandemic, increased technology, and employers not willing to accommodate. During the pandemic, businesses were shutting down and not that many people were going to work. There were efforts to show businesses and those who actually showed up support as they were losing business and putting themselves at risk. This is when people started to be more generous with their tipping, and ever since the pandemic, it's never reverted back to what it was like before. But employees sure have become more lazy. According to Lorsch in 2023, 74.5% of remote transactions dealing with food and drinks ask for a tip. This is 31.1% more than what was seen before the pandemic. Also, due to the pandemic, forms of payment have shifted. So in order to be contactless, which most businesses prefer nowadays, customers are paying with credit and debit cards. New technology has replaced tip jars with electronic screens, which has created new ways of asking for a tip. A prompt pops up on the screen with certain percentages of tip, and these are often high and can feel ridiculous when buying 1 cup of coffee. Ever since tipping started, it was a way for employers to pay their employees less and have customers make up the rest in tips. For workers in the service industry, their minimum wage is oftentimes below standard. This means that they're forced to rely on tips to make a comfortable living salary. Even with inflation, employers have not been willing to accommodate, which is causing distress in employees. So even though changes in society have caused tipping to be so normalized, there are still steps that we can all take to help. To help tipping go back to what it was like before the pandemic, there are a few steps we can take, including paying with cash, staying strong when that screen turns, and also I'll provide you with a petition that we all can sign. So one step that we can all take is to pay with cash. From personal experience, whenever I pay with cash, I'm never asked to leave a tip. It's when I bring out my credit card or debit card is when I'm faced with this dooming question. Now, if you do have a wonderful experience with the employee, you can always tip them however much you want, and it's more genuine this way than being asked for it. Another step we can all take is to stay strong. We all know the feeling of stress the situation brings, but if we refuse to give in, we can make a change. This option is for those that prefer contactless payments over carrying around cash all the time. If you're one of these people, make sure to look out for the no tip button and sign your signature guilt-free. It's okay to not tip when it's not necessary. As I discussed before, a big cause is that people are being paid at minimum wage, which is below standard. What can we do to help? Well, in order to increase the minimum wage, the Congress has to sign or pass a bill, and then the president has to sign it. This might seem like a reach, but there are small steps we can do. There's an ongoing petition to pass the Raise the Wage Act, which will increase the federal minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 an hour by 2024. I've signed this myself, and with your help, we can reach the goal of 1,000 signatures. Here's a QR code, and I encourage you all to sign it as it benefits all of us. So today I argued why the tipping culture needs to be changed, as it has become too common in the workforce. First, I talked about why tipping is a problem. Then I talked about what caused tipping to be so normalized. And lastly, I presented some solutions. So next time you go to Yogurtland, remember these solutions so you can stay strong and take action against the tipping culture.